Hey, what's going on, guys? This is me, Centon. So fire decks have not existed for that long, realistically, but people are always already getting bored of them. And, you know, I can understand they're a little too good. I can see how we would be getting a ban list that could potentially maybe destroy them, or maybe just kind of limit their consistency levels. It really depends on Konami's philosophy. A lot of things could happen. You know, it's Konami. Anything definitely can happen. At the same time, some of their decisions might be influenced by their next kind of commercial move, like depending on the product that they will be releasing. For example, Legacy of Destruction, it'll have like new Snake Eye support, Snake Eye Diabell Star. It'll have Diabellzy of the original Sin, which is kind of like a crazy card. It does a lot, and even though it's not played in the OCG, it probably will be played in the TCG. And a lot of other things, Lightsworn support, etc., which, you know, might unban Curious, but I will be going into these kind of details very soon. Anyways, before this video starts, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. It really motivates me a lot to keep making videos like these, and now let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, what about the actual Snake Eye cards? Can any of them really get banned? Snake Eye Ash can't really get banned because otherwise, I mean, the whole deck is kind of like murdered. But I mean, it could also happen, but then there's really just no reason to even look at any of these cards anymore. Flamberge getting banned would also make the engine completely dead and the deck completely dead. The only card that I can think of that could get banned and the pure deck would still be playable would be Original Sinful Snake Eye. Now, if you do that, what you're doing is you're also making Wanted and Diabellstar completely useless. A lot of people will be losing a lot of money in case that happens, because Diabellstar will no longer be a one-card starter. You're not going to be able to set the Original Sinful Snake Eye. But again, with the new wave of support that we're getting in Legacy of Destruction, it's not going to be that bad because you can still set a lot of useful cards, useful new cards, that can lead to summoning some really terrifying monsters such as Diabellzy, which is kind of like almost an anti-spell, even though you can use the card right after, but there's like a huge drawback to it. And it's still like game against Pendulum decks, so yeah, rip Pendulum decks. And yeah, these cards, I think, out of all of them, the only one that that should get banned would be Original. But realistically, I don't think any of that will happen. I think what's gonna happen rather is that the deck will suffer a consistency nerf. So, for example, Ash will get limited. That's actually a very smart move and a really fair move for you know, the community, because they're not going to be losing too much money. Snake Eye Ash is a super rare. It's not worth not really worth anything. Whereas if they decide to limit Wanted, then you're going to be losing a lot of money, actually, because this card is worth I think like over 100 or something, and you need 3 in any fire deck pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of gonna hurt the wallet a lot if that happens. The Inferno with FTK deck, I don't think the FTK is going to be playable after the ban list because something will or probably should happen. I don't think Inferno cards themselves will be getting hit, but I think what's gonna happen is that the Inferno deck is something that Konami wants to push anyways because of Terminal World, and this can only you know, be a thing in case we have, like, if we still have like an intact or semi-intact Snake Eye engine. So Original Sinful Snake Eye has to summon that Decatron, otherwise you can forget about it. Inferno is not going to be seeing a lot of sales. So yeah, it is in Konami's best interest to let this engine rather survive a little longer. Maybe just a small nerf again, but that's about it. It's really not going to be that big. And also, Bonfire is going to dodge the ban list. That one's really not that big. And it's also a card that should stay in the game anyways. It's really not that unfair. The card itself is actually kind of bad, if anything. Bonfire kind of sucks. The only card that you're really ever searching would be Snake Eye Ash and Populous. That's it, that's all. So yeah, it's like seasonally good. It's only because of right now we have like some insane pyro monsters, but it's not always going to be the case. So that's the reason why I believe in this ban list, only Snake Eye Ash will be getting limited, and that's it, that's all. Again, we really need to sell those Inferno cards. Far King, on the other hand, I don't think any of these cards deserve like a hit. Like, none of these cards are unfair. Garunix getting banned would destroy everything. Ponix getting banned, same thing. Arvada getting banned. And these cards can't get limited because they're already at 1. So that's the reason why it's either banned or they still the way they are. Kirin, on the other hand, I can see a point for it getting limited, but it would just make players play better. So it's like, are you really trying to nerf like the deck, or are you trying to like improve it? People used to play 3 Kirin, and then people are slowly right now playing 2. But 1 Kirin is also completely manageable, honestly. It really doesn't change that much. So yeah, limiting Kirin would also not be a hindrance whatsoever. Now, if there is one thing that has to get banned, or limited at least, just like their other contenders trap card brothers, Rivalry goes in and there can only be one, would be Summon Limit and AntiSpell. I've had enough of these cards, honestly. They're absolutely everywhere. Every single time there's like an insane format, you always know that the floodgate of choice is always one of these two cards. I mean, people were also experimenting with Solemn Strike and Solemn Judgment, which are, I mean, they're more interesting and they're more fair to play through. But these cards are like floodgates. They shut down a core mechanic, and that's just not something that, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Really needs. It's not really like you can say, oh, well, it puts the broken decks in checks, because even the broken decks themselves are playing these cards. It just really rewards, like, anyone for going first, and again, the game would be better without them. So if we could just at least give them the same treatment as these cards and put both of them at 1 or both of them at 0, I mean, I'm not gonna complain if that happens. Obviously, the less floodgates in the game, the better for me. That would be nice, but again, it's just, this is a personal wish list this time, because honestly, I don't think any of these floodgates will die, but at the same time, I said the same thing about Rivalry Goes in Match and there can only be one, and all of them got, you know, the hammer in like one single list. Anyways, for Voiceless Voice, I actually think, if anything, this deck is going to be drastically better after the ban list, because we are getting Blessing of the Voiceless Voice, the continuous spell that allows you to ritual summon on the opponent's turn, and also recycle back a card from the graveyard or banished every single I hate seeing the banishment. It's so freaking annoying. Very good card, but it doesn't make the deck like infinitely better. It's just that now there's like a good card to place on the opponent's turn when you summon back the Novox. So like you place the Blessing, and then you can ritual summon the Seravis again after bouncing it back, and you can almost loop it again and again as long as you have stuff to I mean, not really again and again, like you can only use it once, but you get what I'm saying. You can Seravis negate your opponent like 3 times in one turn. It's actually quite interesting. Now, it is again in Konami's best interest for people to play the Voiceless Voice deck, because if people play this deck, then people also want to play Ubel, because Ubel has a ridiculously good matchup against Voiceless Voice, since their entire strategy just loses completely hard to like Ubel crashing, and then you take the damage. The Ubel stays on the field. The Voiceless Voice deck doesn't really have any outs to Ubel when you think about it. They don't really have any removal. They only really have like negates and the Solemn Warning, which doesn't do anything against Ubel because everything is an activated effect. And all the scary effects of Ubel are continuous effects. So the Skull Guardian doesn't have anything to negate either. So you're not dealing with 2 Ubels. Like, you can out one if you've got SP Little Knight, but what about the other? As long as you're playing against Relinquished Anima, you don't lose to anything when you're playing Ubel against Silent Enforcer. The matchup is way too free. So yeah, if people play this deck, then people play that deck, and both of these decks are getting support in Legacy of Destruction, which again further proves my point that these cards are probably what Konami wants to push for the next format. Fire decks, especially because of Terminal World, because of Infernoid. Infernoid definitely a really big one for sure. And then we've got Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, which is the only unfair card in the Despia deck. This is the only card that really deserves a ban. Everything else is 100% reasonable. I couldn't care less. And then this is just me being a hater, but also being legit. Dimension Shifter is actually a really disgusting, unfair bullshit card. It should have, I mean, no, that's not true. It should have been printed in the first place. That wasn't a mistake, and I don't regret that. But the thing is, this card is now being used in like unfair BS decks that usually cannot really win without the Shifter, and it just allows bad players to win with this card, honestly. I just had to say it. But yeah, Shifter allows like Flunderies players that don't know how to play the game just to win when they draw Robina and Shifter, or Robina and Featherstorm. So if both of these cards get banned, that would be absolutely gorgeous, but it's probably not gonna happen. I think Featherstorm is gonna dodge the ban list, and Shifter might get like the OCG treatment, maybe going to 2. But Shifter is also going to be making the Ritual Beast deck better, because now if you got Shifter and Rampengu, it pretty much translates to having Kanahawk, because you want to banish cards in the Ritual Beast deck. Foolishing cards is fine, but obviously banishing is better. But now your Shifter makes the Rampengu turn from a Foolish Burial to a Gold Sark, which is pretty scary. Yeah, Shifter, pretty annoying. Keep that into consideration. And then the last card I can probably imagine getting a hit would be Crossout Designator. So it's not that it's like super unfair, but in the OCG it's already at 1. It can't stop Maxi. But the thing about Crossout is that it's always going to be the go-to in any tier 0 format. You're always going to see this card in either the main or side deck, as we are seeing right now in Fire King and Pure Snake Eyes. It's meta-defining, and we can actually see this card getting replaced with Metal Tronios in the near future, because It reminds me a lot of Crossout Designator. It's a card that can out just about any monster upon controls, but you gotta have pretty much almost the same monster, or at least a monster that matches a lot of characteristics with that monster. It's kind of like a hybrid between Small World and Crossout, if you will, and like also a Dark Ruler and something that just outs them. It's just a really cool card. Yeah, just read it, and you're gonna understand why. I think this card just forces you to think a little bit more when you play and deck build, whereas Crossout, it's just a little simple. Oh, I play billions of hand traps, I play Crossout, that's it, that's all. It's just too easy to play, just like Combat the Grave, so that's why I can see this card going to 1, just like in the OCG. Now, another card, actually, forgot to mention this category. Another card that should get banned would be Hot Red Dragon King Calamity. It's because of the new Centurion support. I'm making a Centurion video. I don't know if it's like already uploaded or it's gonna be uploaded tomorrow, but King Calamity is already like really annoying in Centurion, but the thing is they're also going to be getting like the new synchro monster, I forgot the name, Arcoella or something, that can get back a Centurion monster from the banished into the spell and trap zone. And that's really problematic because it means that they can now use Shifter, which works with like half of their starter cards. So yeah, imagine being under King Calamity and under Shifter at the same time. It's just ridiculous because now a bunch of your hand traps are completely useless, and you might just lose to their Shifter even when you have the out to King Calamity. So it's really just not fair. And also going second, they're going to be winning more often because they now have the auto win hand trap, which again should not be a thing. And now, actually, finally, the last card I think should really get banned, but it's not gonna get banned, most likely would be IP Mascar. Now, this card is always the culprit of like every annoying deck that always ends up being like insane. Every single broken deck that I can think of used IP Mascar in the last like 5 years, I think, except for like Ashtira, even though they are playing IP Mascar right now, ironically, but at full power they weren't. This card is just annoying, especially with like SP Little Knight. SP is a card I think is fair if you're summoning going second, but when you're summoning on the opponent's turn, it just feels like even better to link summon than Appaloosa on the opponent's turn. So yeah, it's just annoying that when you have a bunch of bodies, you can always turn them into like generic IP, Appaloosa and stuff like that can just make you play through stuff or make you have way too many interruptions for having like tokens, for example. It's completely stupid. So yeah, it should not be a thing. I hate this card from the bottom of my heart, and I think if this card gets banned, at least we can justify SP and not ban that card instead. Now for the cards that should probably get unbanned. Heavy Storm, I mean, this one kind of sucks, and nobody plays trap heavy decks, and even if they were, Heavy Storm would not necessarily be insane. Duster is still better. There's like almost no situation where destroying your own card really can be beneficial unless you're playing, I already explained this very well in the past, but if you're playing Unchained and you only have a hand of like 2 trap cards, then Heavy Storming yourself can be beneficial, but that's the only situation where it can be good. If you draw Heavy Storm with like monsters and traps, it doesn't matter because the monsters would have destroyed the traps anyways. So it's not like you can say, oh, Heavy Storm is making me go plus or unbrick. Not really. You play the game in the first place. So it's an irrelevant argument. You want a Heavy Storm first to make them lose their back row, and then you can commit to the board. Not the other way around. That would be completely stupid. Tidal Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls is probably not gonna get unbanned, unfortunately, even though I think it should. It's just that there is no water product. The thing is, Blaster, at least you could say it got unbanned when we started getting the fire cards, and then Tempest when we started getting the Armed Dragon Thunder monster from Chaz. And Red Ox, I don't know, I think we're getting some Earth stuff as well. I mean, we're always getting Earth stuff. Tidal, there's not really a good timing for this card at the moment. Curious should 100% get unbanned because we're getting new Lightsworn support. And either way, Curious is somewhat of a fair card when Fairy Tail Snow is not around. Fairy Tail Snow is the card, it was the main culprit ever, like, since day one. But either way, we've got Beatrice that's actually more degenerate than Curious to begin with. And also the Shizu mailers are banned, so Curious doesn't really mail 8 cards anymore, it only mails 3 cards. So I think Curious is 100% safe to get unbanned. This is the kind of prediction I am 100% willing to bet money on. It will happen, mark my words. And finally, Glue Bulb I think should get unbanned because this card sucks, and we're also getting Raika, which boost the plants, insects, and forgot there was another theme, just like the Tri Brigades. So yeah, it's fine. Oh, reptiles, there we go. So yeah, it's fine if Glue Bulb gets unbanned. At least it's a plant, so it kind of has indirect synergy with them. And Jet Synchron is already a thing. If anything, I mean, Jet Synchron is better than Glue Bulb. That one is a 3, and Glue Bulb is banned. Makes absolutely 0 sense. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts. What do you think should get banned, or what do you think should get unbanned? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.